brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking hosts, the good old boys. And now it's sippin' time.
Hey, welcome to this Sips episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. This is good old boy Mike. We are the best thing on at 2 a.m. This is a 1-hour show that's mildly entertaining for 22.3 minutes today.
We gained a little bit.
I'm going.
That's 20 seconds right there.
Yep. We're banned in 3 countries, 1 entire state, 6 municipalities, and Aunt Martha will still not speak to us. Our soft goal. There you go. Right off the bat, man. It just had to go right there, didn't he? Of course, that's getting the buzzer.
Rammer.
Our soft goal is to offend at least one person every episode, and today's target is going to be.
You're already done. Yeah.
People who think
today.
Yeah, I know. People who think the Windy City is all about the wind. And dramatic pause. Okay, thank you. This is good old boy Mike at the table. I have a huge crew here to talk about our show for today. Joining me here is good old boy Jason.
Good to be here.
We have, I'm going to say good old gal, Julianne. Good old gal, Cary Ann.
Where's Juliana now?
No, she's not here today.
Good God.
Good old gal, Cary Ann is joining us. Say hello.
Hello.
And good old boy John.
Still proud to be here.
Good old boy Harmeet.
Let me say something.
Again.
I am only a good old boy because I married into an Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, that's right.
Can you press that buzzer
India,
button
we
again
don't
for
know
me?
what you're talking about, this good old boy thing.
There you go.
Just keep buzzing.
Made Man Bob, thank you for joining us.
Always good to be here.
And Made Man Brent.
It's a pleasure to be here today.
Both Made Man Brent and Made Man Bob are joining us from the Bourbon Mafia. Why don't you guys take a minute to tell us a little bit about the Bourbon Mafia?
Well, the Bourbon Mafia is a group of high-end enthusiasts and industry professionals.
He means by high-end, he means rich.
We love rich people.
I wouldn't know about that part. But
Bob has kids going to college soon.
Other events, we do a lot of charity work and a great group of people.
Thank you very much. Cary Ann's joining us from her blog, which is Straight Up 615, as well as a lot of other great activities. Cary Ann, why don't you introduce some of your blog and some of the other things you do for our audience?
My official job title is Tennessee Whiskey Evangelista. I work for a little distillery called 10 South, and I write about all things happening in the Tennessee spirits world for Whiskey Wash and my blog, Straight Up 615.
Thank you very much. This show is sponsored in part by The Bourbon Review, a quarterly magazine, an online source for all things bourbon. Check them out at www.thebourbonreview.com. And also, Fine Spirits, home of the Enema machines, serving great products by the glass. www.finespirits.net. All right, so listen, I had a listener actually ask me if I was actually saying Enema machine.
I just was getting ready to order one. I was just wondering if do I get one as a gift for being on the show?
No, it's a liquor store. I mean, I guess I need to work a little bit more on my Midwestern diction, so I would say enematic machine, while I'm actually reading our sponsors post. So anyway.
It's enomatic.
Well, see,
enophile, like wine lover.
That's even getting closer to the sphincter.
It's Italian.
An enema-phile? Is that what he just said?
Enophile.
Like O-E-N-O?
And you actually thought that I would say that correctly the first time. No.
I saw one of those enophiles once. He was on Facebook, and they were talking about arresting him.
They caught that dude.
They will arrest me because they think I'm Muslim, but I'm not.
All right. Well, our sip segments are all about wine, distilled spirits, coffee, tea, and God forbid whatever else is on this show. Today's episode is a distillery takeover on Few Spirits and the Splinter Group. We'll be covering these products today. We'll be talking about Few Spirits Bourbon, Rye Whiskey, and their barrel gin. And from
gin was not on the job description for me, and it's gin.
Gin, yes.
But it's brown.
Yes. And from the Splinter Group, we're going over two products, Slaughterhouse and Straightedge, are the two products that we're covering from them, as well as the three from Few. So, two very different approaches, what we're going over today. Now, Few Spirits, actually, they make all their own products, and Splinter actually sources all of their whiskey. So, there's actually kind of a focal point for the Splinter Group on the barrel finish. Because we'll talk a little bit more about Dave Finney, as we kind of swing around to the Splinter Group and a lot of the buzz. Yeah. But I've actually asked Bob to cover some of the background on Few Spirits Distillery, and we'll get right into the tasting after we cover some of this background material. Take it away, Bob.
All right. The first distillery within the city limits of Evanston, Illinois, Few Spirits, was founded in 2011 and represents the grain and glory of the American Midwest. We make grain spirits.
You said Midwest and glory in the same sentence.
Yeah, I don't say it.
All right, I'm just saying.
And Enema.
We make grain spirits because we're in the country's breadbasket, says founder Paul Wetko, whose distilling philosophy is grain to glass. We're able to source our corn, wheat, and rye regionally, much of it from farm cooperatives. A former patent attorney, don't hold it against him, his mother thinks he's a garbage man, Wetko overcame antiquated laws in order to root Few into Evanston, one of Prohibition's birthplaces. Today, the alley entrance still evokes the feeling of an era's hidden production. Located in a former repair shop for cars of unknown ownership, Few has 2,700 square foot of distilling floor and 400 square foot of tasting room. Although the science of the distillation process is relatively simple, the art is not, and the approach of our distiller is the distinguishing factor. We do not buy neutral-based spirits made anywhere else and then distill it onto our own, says Wetko. We made the grain alcohol here. We control the ingredients, the techniques, and the equipment.
And they have a chop shop.
And you get your muffler fix in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
So definitely from...
he is an attorney, so, there might be some funny stuff going on, but hell of a nice guy. I met him at Whiskey Fest in Chicago, and a very, very great place. And here's more of Paul talking about this history.
Can't get in here without walking down an alley, which is kind of picture perfect for a distillery in the home of Prohibition. The name Few kind of is intended to evoke the fact that we don't make a lot, we just make a few. We are a grain-to-glass distillery, and what that means is that we actually make alcohol here on site. So we bring in all of our Midwestern grain, we mash it, we ferment it, and then we distill it. We actually create a product here, and that's why our products taste different than everybody else's. The business kind of started a few years back. I'd been a home brewer for about 20 years, didn't really want to do something with beer because it was too close. My grandfather had a lot of history in the beer business because back before World War II, his family owned a very large brewery in what's now the Czech Republic. After Hitler invaded, they didn't own the brewery anymore. He spent the rest of his life trying to get the brewery back and never did. I wanted to do something to help build on, honor that legacy, but create something new. One of the challenges in particular in the spirits business is that there is not a lot of bad spirits on the market. If you don't have quality, then you don't really have a whole lot. We currently have 3 whiskeys on the market, and we currently have 3 gins on the market. We won a double gold medal at the New York International Wine and Spirits Competition for our white whiskey. We certainly win a lot of critical recognition for our products. Not everybody's going to like Few Spirits, but the few people who do are going to really like it.
So, thanks for the background, directly from Paul himself there. And so I've asked Cary Ann to share with us a little bit more background on Few Spirits.
Sure. So for his bourbon, Let Go mixes a bit of Southern tradition and Northern style in a mash bill or grain recipe of 70% corn, 20% rye, and 10% two-row malt. That's a regional barley. The bourbon is then aged in new white oak barrel, which Few sources from a Minnesota cooper. Because the frost-free growing season is shorter there, the tighter grains of the wood produce a better balance of pepper and vanilla and make the tannins more intense, he says. At the cooperage, a cooper places an open-ended barrel over a super hot flame. I think that's a technical industry term. And torches the inside.
What if it's not super hot? What if it's just like mild hot?
Super hot.
Super hot.
Yo, Benny, come over here. Let's make it super hot again.
I know this term because in the industry, that is how I am
Stick your
described.
tongue on this.
Yeah, I heard you're on the Swedish bikini team.
There you go.
Go Swede.
Northern Alabama.
Yeah.
Roll Tide.
There. It's just, I'm
Guys will do anything
really
to get back
sorry.
in Alabama.
It's just
You're
a natural
banned. Get over
reflex
it.
that I have.
You're banned in Alabama. I understand this, but you know what? You'll get back in there.
No, you won't.
Yes, so we take that super hot flame and torch the inside until it reaches the desired char level, for which Letgo is on the heavier side. Darker chars caramelize the wood sugars to create more intense vanilla notes and a richer color.
I'm going to go with number 4 char here. Come on, just number 4 char, right?
Number 4 crocodile. On the 4 spirits hecto
Right,
mix. The American and barrel gins share a link to his old hobby, beer brewing. You can't just make a good gin, he says. You have to make a good gin that is different. And while Letgo adds American-bred Cascade hops, which deliver a citrus note that you won't find in other gins. Letgo also ages his amber-toned barrel gin in oak barrels previously used for the company's bourbon and rye, as well as in unused barrels. The gin from the different barrels is then combined to attain a balance of flavors and color. After all the work, the label can only say it's a barrel gin.
We'll cover the rest of this right after this commercial break.
Rolling clouds and crashing surf. Iridescent dunes reflecting by the light of a rising, glowing moon. Seashore mesmerizing, night breeze hypnotizing. We've come across these back roads none too soon. Look to the left, to the right. Keep your eyes on the road, my darling. Wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows. My hand is yours forever, sweet love.
Hey, welcome back to Sips, Suds, and Smokes. On today's episode, we're talking about a variety of products, a whole lineup from Few Spirits out of Chicago and the Splinter Group out of Napa Valley. We're going to cover all these products. Cary Ann was going over some background on Few Spirits. We ran out a little bit of time there. So you're going to pick it up with the gin, telling us a little bit more about this.
So we're talking about barrel aging the gin and the government not allowing it to be identified as barrel aged. They say you can't put a gin in a barrel, like explains. Although I tell them we do have the technology. We call it a funnel. Which is also how one gets an enema.
I have in my notes.
That's no information.
Out here in the heartland, where Prohibition got its start, Letgo understands that not all laws are logical.
That's why charcoal filter it in Nashville, in Tennessee.
Well, so John is the declared newbie on this show, so we're going to stick with tradition and have our new host actually read the SIPS rating. So John's challenge is that he's going to have to read the SIPS ratings that would embody the elements of sounding like he's having an enema while he's sharing with you the SIPS ratings for our show today. All right, good old boy John.
John, just remember, the liquid is cold.
Take it away, good old boy John.
SIPS ratings, number 1.
Bend over.
Give me an enema to wash out my mouth.
Water.
Wow.
Bring water. Bring water.
SIPS rating number 2. Nice, but do you have an enema I can have?
Well, isn't that nice?
SIPS rating number 3. Interesting. Was that an enema you just gave me? Sips rating number 4. Let's keep this enema secret to ourselves. Pour me another, please. And Sips rating number 5. Oh my God, I was unaware anything could be this good.
Oh my goodness! Yes!
I don't think
that was a good enema.
I don't think I've laughed that. I have not laughed that hard with the Sips introduction in quite a while. You know, other than Jason trying to channel
he
East Tennessee relative.
The last show we did at a bar in Sarasota, and we had a woman running around like a lunatic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, that lady was awesome.
And he didn't even laugh at that. So, yeah. This is the most he's laughed.
That's pretty funny. Well,
She was drunk 2 hours before we arrived.
At least. And then some. Well, we're going to get right into our first products. Harmeet's going to give us some background on the bourbon from Few Spirits. Take it away, good old boy, Harmeet.
All right. Well, Few Spirits, you know, like I said, they say few, and few people enjoy their. No, I'm sorry.
He's coming right out.
They call it few because it's a small production thing. This is the real deal. These guys are actually taking the grain. They are making it themselves. They're distilling. They're doing the mash themselves. They're doing the distillate themselves. They're starting from scratch. This is not BS sourced whiskey. Well, I shouldn't even call sourced whiskey BS. I like sourced whiskey. So let me start again. Few Spirits is Southern tradition meets Northern rye. That's what they're about. So this spirit is distilled through the timeless liquor making process, utilizing 3 grains. So they're infusing generations of Southern tradition, spiciness of Northern rye, for a touch of malt to the smoothness of the corn. Okay, starting with really great corn, a touch of rye, and just a little bit of malted barley. So it's handcrafted, small batch, and they use. I'm sure. Do they have their own cooperage, or they're buying their barrels?
They buy their barrels.
They buy their barrels. They've won a bunch of awards, and they've been honored by the Beverage Tasting Institute. They've had a gold medal. They've had a couple silver medals, and they make some really nice whiskey. So, Mike, tell me, what do you think about this first bourbon?
Well, so it's very interesting that, even the description of this as a bourbon itself, other than the mash bill, kind of stepping into it, I would really almost go so far to say, if we were doing this blind and I were to ask people if this is a bourbon, would you have picked it as a bourbon? No. John's saying no.
No.
No. So, I think that it was the telltale sign was actually my very first tasting note, which was it's very floral. And I'm not saying that just because the barrel gin is absolutely filling the entire room, but there was definitely a very heavy floral component. I really thought it was easy drinking, and I can see why this would appeal to a fairly, broad audience as well. I gave it a 4. I just thought that it was very approachable. But I think that if I were to look at the label and say, is this bourbon a 4, I would have difficulty in saying that. But the drink in the glass was good. Good old boy Jason, what do you think?
So, whiskey-wise, the taste, I think it's middle of the road. It's mediocre. It's not horrible. It's not great. However, his process, his method, I completely respect his process and method. I think this whole farm-to-table, grain-to-glass movement that's going across America right now is a very respectable one. And I think the direction that he is going is a great one. I think this whiskey is too young. If it was me, I would have aged it for another 2 or 3 years, but I respect his process and method, so I'm giving it a 3.
Interesting.
So, same question. Were you tasting it for what it was or what it is?
I was tasting it for what it is. If I tasted this blind, I might have given it a less of a rating, but because I know of his process, I gave it a higher rating. And it, talking about like this whole grain to glass and farm to table, there's been a lot of shows and documentaries about that, and I just really respect the process.
Good old boy John, what do you think about the Few bourbon?
As a bourbon or as a drink?
As a drink, yeah. Let's stick with that.
As a drink, I enjoy it. But I drink all kinds of stuff. I mean, I drink,
As we're all looking around the room of 400 bottles.
you know, if
John's saying he enjoys
acetone,
water.
I'm a paint thinner guy.
Yeah.
Hey, at least the paint's thinner now.
You need to go.
Look, my wife and her friends, they drink wine out of boxes.
That sounds like a good T-shirt, doesn't it?
I don't mind a screw cap on a
I'm
bottle
a
of
paint
wine.
thinner guy.
I don't mind a screw cap on a bottle of wine. But I have
the same
been
in the Enema.
as a fairly newbie collector. I'm drinking lots of stuff. And so there's absinthe in the next room. I drink all kinds of stuff. And as a drink, I would give this a 3. As a bourbon, I give it a 1.
Ooh, I'm going to go with a 2 to split hairs.
Well, isn't that nice?
Go to Gal Cary Ann. What do you think about Few Spirits bourbon?
Look, I work for a little distillery, and we're making all our own things, and I understand the challenge of aging. This is young. It's a little grassy. I'm really looking forward to tasting it in a couple more years. I gave it a 2.
Wow. I like grassy. I think that's a lot more of what I was picking up. So I was saying floral, and after you said grassy, I'm like, yeah, I think it's a better description.
Yeah, hay. It tastes a little grayish.
Hey.
Hey, girl.
Made Man Bob, what do you think about the Few Spirits bourbon here?
It's got a very the nose is very putty like, almost like a plumber's putty. I'm getting hints of leather and oak, a little linseed oil and sandalwood. Again, I agree. It needs a little more time. I'm excited to see what this will be in another 2 or 3 years if they leave it in the barrel. I give it a 3.
How about that?
Interesting.
Made Man Brent, what do you think about the bourbon from Few Spirits?
Okay, I have a different take on it. I love the process that they're going through. I love it. It's just when I had it, it really wasn't a lot of spice to it, and the taste that I got of it was a little of overcooked popcorn.
Yeah,
And-
it's definitely a popcorn.
Yeah. It just wasn't in my profile, and it doesn't mean that it's not in others. But I mean, I gave it a 2.
How about that?
Well, isn't that nice?
So, Harmeet, can I ask you to continue going over the next product, which is the Rye Whiskey from Few Spirits?
All right. Well, I see how a lot of you guys are rating it as, here's the drink and here's the bourbon. Look, I just rated it as a bourbon. Actually, look, the nose, I got a lot of oak, but really it's young, and I agree with Cary Ann. It's grassy, it's floral,
Roll Tide.
and that's just because it needs time. On the palate, it had good oak, it had good leather, the corn was there. It just is way too damn young, and I'm going to guess here that they use spring corn, not winter corn. Winter corn has a lot more sugar to it. This did not have the sugariness I was expecting to have. After I added the water, there was not a big change. But I still gave it a 3 because, you know what? I respect the process, and it's a decent bourbon.
So let's swing around to talk about the next product here in the lineup, the Rye Whiskey. So here's a quick description from Few Spirits. The Rye Whiskey is born of hearty grain and patience. A generous rye content is married with the sweetness of corn from a genteel interpretation of the venerable spirit. Patiently aged in air-dried oak barrels, its spicy character transcends more resurgence. Behold the renaissance of rye. I'm sorry.
One day.
Enema?
Yeah.
That was an enema of the mouth right there.
I would choose this for my enema any day.
There were so many big words in there. I am worthy of actually being qualified to drive after reading that successfully. All right.
I know rye, and you, sir, are no rye.
A few awards for the Few Spirits Rye. This was actually the Whiskey Advocate Craft Whiskey of the Year, and they also won a gold medal in the Beverage Tasting Institute. International Whiskey Competition also gave them a gold medal for this rye as well. My quick tasting notes on this.
Did no one else enter?
I really definitely caught the rye up front. I actually love the spice. I really thought the only thing that caught me around this was kind of a harsh finish. I thought there was some floral component to it. Again, I'm not really quite sure. Maybe something in their yeast strain or, that's kind of playing around with this, that's kind of bringing the floral. And Carrie Ann's kind of shaking her head, and I've got to believe that's,
I believe she's saying you're wrong, Chuck.
This is one of those millennial
Chuck,
entitlement.
I know I call you Chuck.
Achievement
The
award.
dating game. Mike, you're Chuck now.
Yeah.
So,
a participation award.
My SIPS rating is a 3.
Interesting.
We're going to be short on time here, so I'm going to pick 3 more people. Good old boy Jason, what do you think about the rye?
All right, so I know around the table we've been giving few a hard time, but I will say I think this rye is going to be in a couple years extremely, extremely good. Usually when you taste young rye, it's, as Carrie Ann said, it's very grassy, it's very hay-like. I think the characteristics of the rye grain in this is extremely good. I think it's young. I think it needs to go for a couple more years. But I would honestly say that of all the young rye I've tasted, this is one of the best ones I've ever had. I give this a solid 3, but I am expecting 4s and 5s in the future.
There you go.
Interesting.
I'd rather taste this as a distillate right now and then wait a couple of years to really get into it.
How much rye is
I think they're doing the right thing. Look, the nose is grainy and grassy, like you're saying. It's just green. It has potential. I tasted this and I was like, oh my God, this is potential in a glass. I agree exactly what he said. 3 to 5 years more. This is amazing. I gave it a 2 now, but I expect 4s and 5s out of this.
Isn't that
Right,
nice?
and I agree with you, but if you're comparing this to, the Willet distillate, the LDI distillate, the stuff that's 2 and 3 years old, this blows that stuff out of the water.
Oh,
I mean, that
absolutely.
stuff is just
Yeah.
hard to drink.
On a
At
year
least
by year
this
basis,
is like
this is
this has got some
absolutely-
roundness
I
flavors
don't
to it.
even talk about Willet 2-year-old or 3-year-old. You get to the 4 to 7 to 10. That's just amazing.
Well, I have
But
a
look, this
question
needs
as
5 years.
I have a question as a consumer. If you choose to dump your 2-3-year-old rye on the market and expect me to buy it at my friend's stores, then how am I supposed to like it?
Oh,
And
look,
why
I
am
understand exactly what you're saying.
And so what you guys all just said, which I agree with, wow, this is going to be awesome in 3 years. Well, then keep it in your
Wait 3 years.
Yeah, it's
Keep it in Bash. They
I'm not
need to make
supposed
their
to
money
like
back.
it,
They need
and
to
I'm
make
not
their money back.
and I'm not supposed to, tell my friends to go buy it because it
Make
should
a
be.
Sazerac
Be
out of
waited.
it. Make a mixed drink out
Well,
of it.
you know what? That's a great point.
Yeah.
If I was
This-
this guy
this
in
is
the retail
cocktail
store,
rye.
I would say because it's very sweet.
Yeah.
This is cocktail
It's
rye.
very sweet.
Let's gather one.
Cocktail rye.
Let's gather one
right
more
in front of-
tasting
it's
note. and
right
then
in
we'll
front of
move
your
on.
face.
Made man Trent, what do you think about the rye here?
You've been drinking whiskey. It's Made Man Brent.
Brent. Did I say Trent?
All you
I did.
white guys look alike to me.
Made
and I got
Made Man Brent, what do you think of the rye?
It's very young. I mean, they like to say that it's up and coming and everything else, and it's great, and you can't compare it to something else because you have to compare it to itself. You can't compare it to other products or other things that are coming out, and I just think that they just released it too young. I think if they waited another year or two and then released it and then gave some honest opinions about it, I think it would be better. But to me, it's just a 2. That's
Well, isn't that nice?
Well, let's move right along to the last product in the lineup from Few Spirits, which is the gin. Here's the background on the barrel gin, the Midas touch of oak and thyme. What was once clear is now complex, exuding subtle notes of fennel and peppery spices, while a smoky smoothness from the charred barrel permeates the juniper. This barrel-aged spirit tastes like gin, but has the maturity of a bourbon. Boy, that's a huge stretch.
I like it.
Several industry awards here for their barrel gin. Beverage Institute gold medal, and I think that's it for the barrel aged gin. and the highest rating award for a gin in the last 5 years for that.
This is the wrong panel for this. I mean, Cary Ann likes it. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. Damn good gin.
This is not a bourbon drinker's gin. This is good
Not
Jennifer.
a gin drinker's gin.
So I like
It's a gin drinker's gin.
So I like the conversation that Cary Ann and I had before we actually flipped the mics on. She was like, well, which barrel-aged gin do you like? And I said, I like the Corsair, barrel-aged gin. I think it's really good.
That's fantastic, dude. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, Andrea's, she's done a really great job. And Derek both have really, done a wonderful job of trying to marry, wood with the right spice, and herbal components. This, I don't know, there's just something off, for me. Here are the two things I wrote down. I wrote down wintergreen gum and pine were the two things that I wrote down in terms of the amount of, spice that was kind of flowing off this. So, I mean, really just amazing. The amount of introduction of wood, into this as well. It just kind of took me in a place that I didn't enjoy. So my SIPS rating is actually a 2 for this.
Well, isn't that nice?
So,
Look, I make a barrel-aged gin, and I really understand the process of it, and I think they're doing a great job with this. I haven't tasted the gin on its own to know what it's like before it goes into the barrel. I would definitely, all those barrel-aged cocktails, a little Negroni, something like that in here. I think it's... I'd give it a good solid 4. I like it.
Solid 4.
I gave it a 4 too.
Yeah, I gave it a 4 as well. It's
that's 3/4 to your 2.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
the fennel and the pepper is there. Look, if it were made from malted barley, I'd expect it to taste more like Jennifer. I can tell this is a grain-based gin, but the juniper is clean. The barrel adds a lot of great stuff to it.
We'll be right back in just a minute talking more about the barrel gin right after this break.
Riding down this lover's avenue, as slow as a willow blows, or as fast as the whirlwind grows, we glide beneath the stars in cobalt blue. Look to the left, to the right, keep your eyes on the road, my darling, wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows, my hand is yours forever, sweet love. Our eyes ahead on these back roads with a view.
Hey, welcome back to Sips, Suds, and Smokes. Today we're talking about a variety of products, 3 products from Few Spirits as well as from the Splinter group. We've covered a few products from the Few Spirits lineup. We just we're talking about the barrel gin product for the break there, and I was being told that 2 4s is better than a 2. For sure. So, Bob, what do you think about, Main Man Bob, what do you think about the barrel-aged gin from Few Spirits?
I think they're really on the right path with this. I mean, it's an excellent gin. I mean, you're really getting the botanicals out of it. The barrel aging is definitely helping to marry everything together. Very good gin. I thought it was excellent. I give it a 4.
How about that? So 3 4s and a 2 are definitely off base. All right, which one of these things doesn't know?
A gin drinker, you're a bourbon.
I am a diehard gin guy. I'm telling you, I've probably had as much gin as I've had bourbon. So
you like Jennifer?
Maybe not.
Like you like Jennifer.
Maybe not. So, but I have had a lot of gin, and I really do love. I love a wide variety of gins. I do. It's just some of those barrel aged products. You just. You got to set aside your preconception about what it could be or what it should be, and just enjoy it for what it is in the glass. So,
look, it's not aging for years and years.
No.
It's a few months, and it's picking up just enough to change the flavor profile, but not take it over. And I think he's doing a great job of balancing all of that.
Yeah. Well,
Cary is totally cooler than you, man. I'm just saying.
Oh, I knew that.
Roll Tide.
Totally. Oh my God. And
Oh my God.
and we regress Yes, once
had
again.
to open her mouth. Didn't
Man.
Every time.
All that. It's 4 steps forward, 10 steps back. All right. So,
National champions.
Whoa, look at the hot chick in the bikini. Oh, wait, roll tide.
I'm sorry. Who's in control of post-production editing? I know exactly what's going to get cut from that.
And her mic has been muted.
And scene. All right. So the last set of
National
products
champions.
we're going to talk about are
Football players can't read.
Highest graduating class.
thank
in
you.
The SEC.
Probably we'd like to get to the Splinter group.
Like that means a lot,
Debatable.
please.
You don't have to read that bikini.
Debatable. What about Vanderbilt?
Jason, I've asked you to take the background on the
Yes.
Splinter group for us here. Tell us all about Dave Finney and his mastermind here.
Dave Finney is the mastermind behind these products, and many in the industry know Dave as all things from Orange Swift wines. Dave took this strong knowledge of wine and decided that there was a crossover product for whiskey. With easy accessibility to barrels, it was really a matter of finding the right sourced product. The actual source is a mystery, although we do know bin to bottle is involved in the bottle process, as they are also used in Orrin Hatch. This
Lineage.
No, there you go. This lineage of sourcing great wine
I
translated
think you mean
for Dave.
Orrin Swift. Orrin Hatch is a freaking senator.
Yeah, what is Orrin Hatch?
Who wrote this?
Mike,
Did
what the
write
hell,
this?
Mike?
What the hell?
Isn't Orrin Hatch from Alabama?
All right, I'll start over. I'll start over on this. I'll start over.
I
with the
was
actual
drinking
source.
and typing at the same time. What can I say?
He's got little chubby fingers. Sometimes they
don't
hit
have
multiple.
chubby
Try not to say chubby
They're
and
like
whiskey
the
house.
sausages.
I'm sorry. Can you see this figure? Does it look chubby?
The pole hadn't even been installed.
He's got
yet.
Donald Trump hands. I
Orrin
don't know.
Swift.
My finger is currently plugging John's.
Orrin
Don't
Swift.
talk about plugging.
Please continue.
All right. The actual source is a mystery, although we do know bin to bottle is involved in the bottle process, as they are also used with Orrin Swift. The lineage of the sourcing great wine translated for Dave, and everyone was buzzing about this product before it even hit the shelf.
Very much so. And, I mean, there was a lot of industry buzz around this.
Absolutely.
I saw huge ads in trade rags, for months in advance before this bottle hit. And everybody and their brother was like, hey, who's tried Slaughterhouse? Who tried Slaughterhouse? Who tried Slaughterhouse? Who tried Slaughterhouse? And it was like, I haven't even seen it on the shelf. It's like a mystery product. And you're like, Dave Finney, he's just a madman, So I really thought that the amount of hype, even before these products came around, were a byproduct of a lot of things that he had experienced, for Orrin Swift itself. And, Prisoner was definitely I felt like he was riding a lot of the tidal wave, off of the wine products, So, we're going to taste the two products that are available.
I've gotten drunk with this guy a couple times.
Yeah.
I love his wine.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the wine.
That's pretty funny, right?
Wow! Stop shipment. We'll give you the address to that store. All right. So I've asked John to actually introduce the Slaughterhouse whiskey for us.
Oh, really? Sorry.
Yeah. We distracted over
We
there.
should be sorry.
Are there any big words in here?
Yes, I would say oak is a big word.
White oak, red
aromatics.
oak, or white oak? You know what? After spending 9 years in American oak, the spirit was further matured in our Papillon barrels, which added perfumed aromatics and rounded out the mouthfeel. Capital mouthfeel. The spirit was then tamed with pristine water originating from a natural hillside spring found on Dave's property 2,000 feet above the Alexander Valley in California.
What are your tasting notes on this, John, for Slaughterhouse?
You know what? I like Slaughterhouse. I don't have any notes written down, but in addition to this plastic cup of Slaughterhouse right here, I have an open. I have an open
feel
bottle.
Like you've been drinking whiskey for some time. You didn't take any notes.
I got this bottle of Slaughterhouse here in my house, and I bought it because I want my friends to be able to taste it before they decide to go buy it. And I got no problem with this young whiskey. It's a young whiskey.
What's
And
your SIPS rating?
a 3?
3.
Interesting.
So my own tasting notes really quick on this. I wrote down sweet wood, very heavy char. That was probably the one pronounced. In fact, I actually triple underlined heavy char off of this. I remember the whole conversation when this came out. In fact, I think John and I actually exchanged some, it was like, hey, did you pick this up yet? It's on the shelf. And I remember actually sending probably 5 or 6 notes to some close friends and saying, hey, this is on the shelf. You should check it out. It had a great price point. I really thought, for the price, it was definitely worth, picking up. I think that looking back in hindsight, I stepped into a lot of the hype. I really did. But for what the product is, I think it's a solid 3 as well. Let's gather a couple more tasting notes around this. Made Man Bob, what do you think about Slaughterhouse?
Well, I'm picking up notes of leather and sandalwood. The key that I get to it, even though it says here that it's 9 years old, it tastes a lot younger than that. I think another year or two in the barrel might really bring something out to it. I give it a good solid 3.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Interesting.
And Made Man Trent, what do you think about Slaughterhouse?
Okay.
Brent.
It's
Did I say it again?
I'm gonna get you again.
Starts with a B. It's Brent.
Mike, I think you might
I absolutely know Brent. I don't know a Trent. Sorry, Made Man.
You met Brent in real life not too long ago. Dude.
Yes, I absolutely know who was on the show with us. I'm sorry. We've been drinking just a wee bit.
You and I have both been drinking just a wee bit.
I will say, all you
here's the thing: is that
just call me good old Louie.
I think when they put this in the barrel, I just don't think that it had a high enough char. I mean, I don't know what char level they used, but I would have liked to see them use like 1 or 2 levels higher, because I think they used a 1 or a 2 level char, and I just don't think it got the flavor that it deserves and it needs. And I'm just giving it a 2.
Is that a reused barrel or is that a charred barrel?
Yeah. I think that's the
it's a
discussion here
Papillon
that
barrel.
we've been having, is that this is not a new charred oak barrel.
Do you char a Papillon barrel?
I think that's what the problem is. I think if they used a
I
new
would
barrel,
say no.
I think that would really help this out a lot.
Labels tell you a lot without saying what they don't say. So this says American whiskey on it, and it doesn't say bourbon. It doesn't say it's straight. It doesn't say any of the things that would indicate
Because some wine dudes
that
made
it's
it.
using.
It can't be straight. It can't be a bourbon because they're not new virgin American oak.
Exactly.
They're using Papillon barrels. Papillon is a red wine. It's a Bordeaux style blend. It's mostly Cabernet Sauvignon. It's got a lot of Merlot. It's got a lot of Cabernet Franc in it. It's a Bordeaux style blend.
It's a
whether
virgin.
he tried it or not, he didn't say.
It's a virgin
I don't know where the
prisoner
original
barrel
project comes.
bourbon.
But the original
Look, Papillon
product
is
comes.
phenomenal.
You know,
Good old boy
so,
Jason.
I mean, once they
It's
put it
freaking
into those
phenomenal.
other barrels, I don't know that they can. That it's. I just don't get the bourbon flavor out of it.
Good old boy Jason.
So I've actually
I
fought
understand that.
for the last 6 months with the labeling, the TTB. They hate me because I actually want to tell the truth. But more importantly,
a lot of people do.
whenever you age something in a secondary barrel, they do not like it at all, and they don't want you to label it correctly. They actually want you to lie. So there's 2 ways that this can go. When they put it in the wine barrels, the TTB could have designated it's no longer considered a bourbon or a straight whiskey, so you have to call it American whiskey. That's route 1.
That's what they have on the bottle.
Route 2 is that he used whiskey that was aged in reused cooperage. He sourced reused cooperage American whiskey, which there is a good amount on the open market right now.
So that's
that
your
is
starting
my
product.
guess. Correct.
So your starting product
is a reused. It's a new whiskey that was aged 9 years old, but it was aged in a barrel that had already held whiskey before that, and that's my likely guess of where this whiskey came from. Now, when he put it in the barrel, he had to put
Papillon.
finished in bottles, the Papillon barrels. But, I mean, it's just really how the TTB makes you label it. And I think that's a major issue in America right now, is that the TTB does not understand multiple barrels. at all.
I think
they
the
just don't know what to do.
I think the Papillon barrel totally got lost.
How
lost
does the Scotch Whisky Society know this?
It's not there.
Scotland handles reused barrels perfectly.
Correct.
They tell you right away you can use different wine finishes. How does the TTP not understand this?
They just don't get it. So, like, for my Cumberland Cask label, I have tried to do a multiple barrel product, and I've tried to put on the label exactly the barrels that I did. So I started off with a straight Tennessee whiskey and then put it in another barrel. The moment I put it in the other barrel, they said it's no longer a straight Tennessee whiskey.
It's not. No, I understand where they're coming from. Because they don't want you to say straight Tennessee whiskey on that label.
But I said it originated as straight Tennessee whiskey, and then it became a finished product. And I'm giving the end user all the information. They don't want me to give the user all that information.
That's amazing.
I mean, the laws are old and antiquated, and they need to change labeling laws.
I have a theory.
We're still in prohibition in this country, and I think we have a long, long way to go before we really come out of it. And as states, we're all fighting it every day. It needs to be a bigger movement. And
I know the source of all this.
Diageo.
Nope. The people that are part of the people that are running the TTB are all Alabama graduates.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
When Donald Trump names Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions as his vice presidential running mate, then it'll all get fixed.
Let's move on to the next product.
Let's do that.
Which is the Straightedge Bourbon. And Cary Ann is going to give us the background on the Straightedge Bourbon from Splinter Group.
Straightedge Roll Tide. A new and special spirit. So special. Straightedge is a blend of 5, 7, and 8-year-old bourbon from Kentucky and Tennessee. The mash bill is approximately 70% corn with a balance of wheat and rye. The bourbon was finished at the facility in Napa Valley, where it was aged in Mercury Head barrels. Those are Dave's high-end Cabernet Sauvignon barrels. The barrels imparted toasty vanilla-ish and dried fruit notes while also allowing the bourbon to soften and mellow. The spirit was aged at 124 proof and then
titrated.
Thank you. To its bottle strength.
She saw tit.
That's the
of 84 proof.
That's the amount of sugar to water.
I wish she had bottled this at higher proof.
Yep.
The water used was from Dave's ranch.
Yes, it was from Dave's ranch.
From a cattle pond.
And that ranch is high in the hills of Alexander Valley. I believe we mentioned maybe over 2,000 feet.
Mm-hmm, we did.
This property is rugged, remote, and more importantly, the home to 3 aquifers that pump out pristine, crystal clear, idyllic water. Really? We're doing all that up there. Mm-hmm. The bourbon was bottled there in Napa Valley at their facility and released in the market in late 2014 with a mere 1,800 six-packs.
Well, so the first thing that I thought of when I read through this, when it said 5, 7, 8-year-old bourbon from Kentucky and Tennessee.
Ain't no bourbon in Tennessee.
Do you see the Dickel truck basically driving back and forth?
Oh, absolutely.
That was totally what... That was totally what I saw.
There is
more Tennessee whiskey than Dickel and Jim Beam.
You know, Diageo was fighting us to.
I said Jim Beam. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, Diageo was fighting us on the Tennessee whiskey definition to want to use those used barrels, and they found a use for them. So bully to them.
So let's talk about Straightedge Bourbon. Let's see. Let's go with Made Man Brent real quick.
30 seconds, Brent.
Oh, you picked the wrong person again.
Oh, man.
No, once again, I just think that it's just not enough. I don't know where they drove from Tennessee to Kentucky and back and stuff, but I just don't think they got enough char in the barrel. I just don't think there's enough vanilla and caramel in the product. You know, I think in 2 or 3 or 4 years, I think it's going to be a great product.
And your SIPS rating. And your
My
SIPS rating.
SIPS rating. I'm going to give this one a 3, though.
3. There you go. Well, we've run out of time for this episode to cover a bit more around Straightedge Bourbon. You can check it out for yourself, as well as probably some of our tasting notes online. Well, let's wrap up our episode for today. A lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. Woo. Go ahead, say it. Go ahead, say Roll Tide. I'm going to throw up.
Roll Tide.
Oh my
Roll
God.
Tide, baby.
Can I just say Enema?
Yeah, there you go. That's probably going to make it into the name of this episode for sure. Yeah, there you go. No, anyway. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. You can catch all of our episodes online as well on SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, PRX, and Spreaker, our native media host. iTunes and our own Android app are the easiest ways to enjoy the show on your phone. Just search for Sips, Suds, and Smokes on iTunes or the Google Play Store. We love your feedback as well. You can reach us online at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com and on Twitter at @sipsudsmoke as well. I want to thank my host for being here today. Good old boy Jason.
Glad to be here.
Good old boy John.
Glad you came to the house.
Good old gal Cary.
Roll Tide.
Made man Brent.
You can't say you've been drinking all day if you don't start in the morning.
There you go. Made man Bob, thanks for being here.
You can't say you've been drinking all day if you keep saying Roll Tide.
And a good old boy Harmeet.
Roll Tide.
Oh,
That's
man.
my wife.
Just the perpetual buzzer. Please come back. Let us insult you. It's good old boy Mike asking you to keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.